2023 meeting of the Woodbridge Board of Education to order at 7:02 p.m. with a reminder to all those watching and participating remotely to kindly mute your microphone to avoid any background noise. This meeting is being held as a hybrid meeting consistent with Connecticut Public Act 22-3. The public may attend in person or electronically via WebEx. The meeting is being recorded and the recording will be available on the district website. I will call the roll. Vice Chair Maria Madonna. Here. Dr. Jay Daya.
Here.
Brooke Hopkins.
Here.
Brooke is attending remotely this evening. Jeff Hughes.
Present.
Stephen Lauren.
Present.
Dr. Michael Strambler.
Here.
Attending remotely this evening. Ms. Erin Williamson.
Here, attending remotely this evening.
Thank you. And I'm the Chair, Lynn Piazzik. This evening, we are missing at this point, Secretary Sarah Beth Delfrey. Staff in attendance this evening include Ms. Vonda Tenza, Superintendent, Ms. Donna Coonan, Director of Business and Operations, Lisa Sherman, Principal, Mr. James Sapia, Assistant Principal, attending remotely, Ms. Cheryl Toffel, Assistant Principal, attending remotely, and Ms. Marcia DeGennaro, Clerk of the Board. I do not see Harry, is that correct?
Lynn, I just want to clarify, Maria is there in person?
Yes, that's correct. The three remote members at the moment are Aaron, Mike, and Brooke.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marcia. I would ask everyone to please stand with the flag. For the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll make believe there's a flag there. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We're up to correspondence. Emails and letters that have been received as board correspondence prior to 4 p.m. today have been posted online in Board Book. We are in receipt of a letter from a parent who is expressing concern for the cost of essential school supplies at the beginning of the year. So board members, please take note of that. At this time, we'll have a moment to recognize Brian Luciani. On behalf of the Board of Education, I would like to take this time to acknowledge the passing of Brian Luciani. Brian began his career when he joined his father, Adolph Luciani, at Group Insurance Associates. Over the years, Brian grew his family business into Blueprint Benefit Advisors, one of the largest group benefit firms in Connecticut. For many years, Brian and other family members assisted the town of Woodbridge and the Woodbridge Board of Education in providing employee benefit consultation. He most recently aided the board in the summer of 2022 during contract negotiations with the Woodbridge Education Association. Brian's death is indeed a loss to our community, both the school community and the greater community. The Board of Education expresses our deepest sympathy to Brian's wife, Julie, his mother, Allison, his 5 children, and his many family members and friends. I will now ask that we observe a moment of silence in honor of our friend, Brian Luciani. Thank you. We're up to the item of public comment on the agenda. The board welcomes public participation and is appreciative of the feedback we receive from the, whether it is through letters or public comment at meetings. If you are making a public comment at tonight's meeting, please be aware that the board will not respond to any comments made during the public comment period, except to clarify issues. We will take into consideration your comments, and when appropriate, district administration will follow up with you at a later point in time. We ask that speakers limit their comments to 3 minutes. Mr. Hughes, will you serve as our timekeeper this evening? So I will ask that when the allocated 3 minutes is indicated, that speakers respectfully conclude their statement. I believe we have public comment in person this evening, so if you'd like to step right up to this last chair at the table. And there's a microphone. Great. And identify yourself and make your public comment. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kristen Turcos. I live at 14 Bear Hill Road. Over the summer, it came to my attention that student placement procedures changed without any notification from administration to the parents in the community or the Board of Education regarding these changes. In years past and this past April at conferences, I have always been asked if I had any thoughts about what learning style is best for my child with regard to the following year's placement. I have always appreciated that the teachers at Beecher Road School have taken my input into consideration when placing my children with teachers who best fit their personality and learning style. I also appreciated that teachers had input over which classroom environments their students would fit into best. So this year I was told by multiple teachers that they had to do blind placement for their students and had no input whatsoever over teacher placement for the following year. When I spoke to several members of the Board of Education, I found out that they were not made aware of this change either. I don't believe that blind placement is what is best for children. We live in a very diverse community with many different types of learners. And I think that parents and teachers know how their children learn best and students learn best. And I'm really disappointed that neither party had input regarding placement this year without any indication of this change to the Beecher Road School community. I realize that Board of members do not typically respond to public comment, but I'm just requesting that the members look into this change and determine whether or not this is best for the community of learners at Beecher Road School. I also wanted to mention my extreme disappointment with the way the pre-algebra class placement, or kind of lack thereof, was handled this year. I feel that the district math curriculum failed the 5th grade students who qualified to take the pre-algebra test by not preparing them adequately for the test, but instead choosing to give them busy work under the guise of going deeper while, sorry, I lost my place. While other students in the class worked to learn concepts that these more advanced students picked up quickly. The idea that they were going deeper is kind of nonsense. You understand a concept and you apply the concept. Doing more of the same repeatedly, just with different window dressings, is not going deeper. It's not enrichment, it's a disservice to the impacted students. I could sit here for an hour and speak to the lack of appropriate instruction that has been provided to my 6th grader during his time at Beecher Road School, not just in math, but in reading as well. But I realize that my time is limited. The district spends countless of dollars and man hours catering to students performing below grade level, yet does next to nothing to help more advanced students reach their potential. This is a systemic problem, and I realize it cannot be fixed by one teacher or one administrator. So I'm hoping that the Board of Education Curriculum Committee takes a deeper look at this issue in the future, especially with regards to pre-algebra, which is offered in the Orange school system. And hopefully you could take a look at other districts for guidance to meet student needs in the future. And I sincerely thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kristen. If there are any remote watchers this evening who wish to participate, please raise your hand in the participants list. Not any. So we will move on. Next on the agenda is the PTO update. This evening, we're welcoming Cindy Kruger, president of the PTO. And I will announce that a written report from the PTO can be found online in Board Book for anyone who's interested. I would encourage the public to access this report. Cindy's here to add some additional information and highlight some things for us this evening.
Okay, and I'm sorry, were you gonna put that presentation up? So we can click through it, or is that?
I can't.
Too hard.
Yeah,
I think it would be great, actually. Let's do it. I know you might have seen an open house if you sat through that, but I wanted to highlight a few extra things for the board. To be in board documents.
Yeah, no, I. So.
And we certainly have in front of us.
Anthony, were you going to put that up for us?
I'll just start talking.
Okay, great. Thank you, Anthony.
Okay, so the first page just highlights that PTO has now formalized itself. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. And so we do have formal bylaws and a mission, and we're really here to enhance the school, as has always been the case. But that's fine, I get it. Many people may not realize that we had not gotten ourselves sort of formally incorporated. We are a separate nonprofit, and we really have had a lot of changes in leadership. There's been a lot of volatility due to COVID, and changing parents in and out of the school. And it's just the challenges that all of you have sort of gone through. So we are coming together this year as, I think there are 3 people who were previously on a board for last year, but no prior history to that. So I would say, give us some grace, and also please feel free to educate us if we have questions, but we're really looking to build a bigger, stronger PTO. Last year there were 6 of us. So, next page. So this is you guys have this, it's our program on a page. And it sort of gives you the activities that are outside of school. We're very successful with the ice cream social. We're estimating we had 1,000 people there because I don't know if that's our math, but I hope some of you were able to attend. It was really well attended, and the kids seemed to have a great time. We probably should start earlier next year, so we're not having a dance party after dark, but it was good. And then, so these are all of the activities that we'll do for the year. And I do want to highlight one thing though, which is that fundraising, I did not include a budget in here. And the next page does have that you can see the in-school activities we do. We want to support everything we've done in the past, but people should know that we have been deficit spending for the last few years, which I think people did not realize until we did a proper budget this year. We had those fun runs. They made a lot of money. There were criticisms of them. They stopped during COVID, and we've been delivering everything, but we're $20,000 short than we would have otherwise expected. And I think it's important the school board know that, because everybody does look for us to kind of hit and those gaps, and we want to. So we're going to need your support as we kind of bring back some additional funding, and we'll see if we can hopefully close all those gaps there. So I don't know if anyone has any questions about that, but yeah, that page we don't need to do. That's it. That's what I wanted to highlight. Yeah, and then the "we need you" message. So we need everybody. I know many of your parents are otherwise involved, and we hope you will come to our events and be out in the community and talk to our volunteers. We need, on the funding message, there was the idea of, can the school board find the money to fund security at events, because that is a good chunk of event costs. I'm just floating that for the first time tonight, so it's something you guys can think about. The town police are somewhat expensive. And another thing that I would like you to think about as you think about volunteers, I talked to Vonda and Lisa today about this, is we do need volunteers to be able to pull off PTO events, including picture day and, things that happen in school. And as we think about your policies for parents, parents really want to be engaged in the community, and we want to encourage that. We hope that the school board will partner with us to better engage parents as well. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Cindy. So I look forward to all of these wonderful events, as always, as PTOs and everything. To the consent agenda, the minutes from the August 21st regular meeting are included in this evening's consent agenda, along with budget narrative, a budget summary, the detailed financial report, and the combining financials, also included in the consent agenda this evening. is the draft budget calendar. Does anyone on the board wish to extract anything from tonight's consent agenda for discussion? Seeing none, may I have a motion to accept the consent agenda? Stephen? And do I have a second? Maria? Motion to accept the consent agenda has been made by Stephen Lawrence, seconded by Maria Madonna. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand if you're in person. Brooke?
Yes,
are
for
you-
Brooke.
Okay, thank you. And I see Aaron's hand and Mike's hand raised, so it's unanimous vote. Marcia, thank you. Moving on to reports. Superintendent's report. Ms.
Thank you. Attached, you do see our enrollment report embedded in here. And as I mentioned to the first selectman last week, if I keep flipping, our enrollment is up to 883 total students. And so I just want to mention that last September, we started the school year with 831 students. So we are up 52 students, which is amazing compared to last September. Our official enrollment is based on October 1st. And, you know, all year long, we do gain and lose a few, but we are growing. So, you know, just as a reminder, we did add one additional second grade very close to the beginning of the year at the end of August. And we did that without any budgetary impact by reassigning a non-classroom teacher to a classroom. And, you know, space is a premium. Our teachers are very patient. They're very creative, but it did put another specials teacher on a cart. And I just want to reiterate that we truly are running out of space. So shortly you'll hear from updates from our Director of Facilities, Vito Asparo, and our Director of Instructional Technology, Anthony Billings. Through their efforts and in support of their staff, they have amazing things to share. I think they'll do a far better job of updating the board on the bigger accomplishments and work that occurred over the summer than I could, so we'll hear from them. Our opening of school, the forms and information that were shared with families and the open houses were very well attended. It was a joy to see all those happy parents. Drop off and pickup is getting quicker as families become used to our procedures. Shortly, and Principal Sherman may reference this, but shortly, Principal Sherman and the administrators will roll out a Pick My Kid app to aid in efficient pickup at the end of the day. That's a little bit more aligned with our safety procedures. And again, just as a reminder, we do review all of our safety and security procedures at the beginning of the year. Our first drills were completed successfully. Even EDA completed their first drill. And we don't publicly share our procedures so that we don't compromise our security. That's common for all school districts. I did participate, just as we referenced some of the uptick maybe in health challenges. I did participate last Friday with 500 superintendents and nursing supervisors in a Connecticut-based health and safety security update hosted by the CSDE commissioner. And CDC guidelines remain, they were reviewed. Our practices from the end of the year will remain consistent. Nothing has changed for our families and everything is aligned with the recommendations from the CDC. The people are wondering about the pool. We did hear this week from the town that the pool filters are in. That is one piece that needed to be repaired in the bigger scheme of pool work. And the town did support that. So once they are installed and the pool is filled and inspected by the health department, the pool may be open perhaps by the end of October. I asked Donna Poonen to set up a meeting with myself, Rector leadership, and Donna to review all of our safety and security protocols and procedures, now that we will be sharing even more space with recreation program during overlapping times when we have learners in the building. So once we know more, we will communicate with families to keep them informed. So that's exciting for some. Just two more things. One is that, we continue to wait for the state for feedback on our waiver application for literacy. But in the meantime, we have, as promised, continued with our professional learning. We were fortunate to be one of 21 districts picked for the next Science of Reading Masterclass. And that course has 5 plenary sessions. They're all day. And we listened to Margie Gillis really speak about, many of the important components for literacy instruction that is evidence and scientifically research-based. It was inspiring, it was educational, a bit overwhelming. We do have homework after each session, but it was fun. We are paired with some surrounding districts for some collaborative learning in the afternoons. And our team consists, it's required by the state. So our team consists of Lisa Sherman, myself, Carrie Borcherding, and then our literacy leadership of Teresa Nakuzi, Monique McDonald, and Jennifer Nickel. So the belief of this whole effort is that by empowering literacy leadership teams, so it's going right at the leadership team and deepening our knowledge of the science of reading, we can better align systemic practices, curriculum, and work with our teachers. So, you know, that theory of action is that if the leadership deeply understands effective learning and literacy components, then we are better able to support and provide targeted feedback that is designed to improve and enrich instructional practices. So we have a lot of incredible learning already occurring here in Woodbridge, but we strongly feel we're not done yet. We have a large percentage of students that meet or exceed mastery, but they don't all. So we really want to get them all to the highest level that they can be. And we believe this opportunity will help us continue to grow and get better and reach every learner. And finally, Thursday night, I had the pleasure of serving at the Living Treasure Awards dinner held at our very beautiful Woodbridge Center. I've learned that I've never been there and I need a tour of this town. And by serving, I do mean serving and clearing tables. I loved it. Our very own Lynn Piazek was one of the 4 honored recipients of this award, and Lynn stood proudly alongside other names that you may recognize: Mary Lee Barker, Joe Crisco, and Matt Giglietti. I spotted Sarah Beth Delpreet and Maria Madonic in the happy crowd. The food was fantastic. There was a lot of laughter and a lot of amazing townspeople that were all connected by a true sense of serviceship to the community. It was a wonderful event. I loved it. Congratulations.
Thank you. It was good.
We have a living treasure right next to it. It was just such a.
I say, live it.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I did think before we move on that Dr. Madonic had a few words to share as part of my report. I see these statements.
I would like to take this opportunity to recognize and congratulate our chair, Lynn Piazek, on receiving the Living Treasure Award from the Town of Woodbridge Department of Human Services this past week. In one of my current favorite podcasts, How to Citizen, the writer, activist, and comedian Baratunde Thurston challenges us to reimagine the word citizen as a verb, as in to citizen. Quote, citizen isn't what you are, it is how you are. To citizen is to participate. And Lynn has given so much of her time and service to our community through her work with various civic groups in town, including our Board of Ed. And we are lucky and honored to have her service to the school district on this board. To citizen is to invest in relationships. And Lynn has built relationships with board members, administrators, and the community. Her example of mutual respect has guided our productive board through both the pandemic and through leadership changes, while orienting new board members and leading our focus to advocate for the education of our community. To citizen is to understand that your leadership can be used to create change that benefits the greater good. And Lynn has put in countless hours as chair to ensure this district continues to follow our collective vision and goals. Finally, to citizen is to value the collective, to work towards outcomes that benefit many. In her work on this board, Lynn has consistently put the climate of our school and the education of our children above all else. Lynn, you embody what it means to citizen, and the members of this board and our entire Woodbridge School District are honored to have your service and learn from your example. On behalf of the board and the Woodbridge School District, congratulations on receiving the Living Treasure Award.
Thank you all very much. Thank you. You know, one of the things I didn't do at the Living Treasure Award, because it was a bit overwhelming, was to thank everyone, and the people in the community who were there supporting all of the living treasures. But more importantly, to, support the idea of giving back to your community. And that's what each of you who sit at this table every month and who sit at the committee meetings and participate in the functioning of the school district do on a regular basis. And I am so honored to sit here with all of you. So thank you very much. Whoa, didn't expect that. All right, Marcia, I'd like to make note that Carrie Borcherding joined us at 7:19 remotely. Welcome, Carrie. Happy to have you with us this evening. And do you want to, do you want to do the introduction or you want me to? I'm happy to. Because I love these people. This evening, we're happy to have two updates, one in technology and one in regarding our facilities. So first, I'd like to introduce Mr. Anthony Billings, who is here to talk about technology, looking extremely dapper this evening. Anthony, we're happy to have you here. I want the people who are out in, TV land and remotely watching. Anthony is here every month with us, trying to keep us on the straight and narrow, making sure that you can hear us and see us, and making sure that we're functioning in a technological way. And from my perspective, that's not an easy job for him to do. So we thank Anthony for all of his hard work here.
Thank you, Board. So I just want to share some of the work that has been happening over the summer. A lot has been done. Some of you have probably heard about the smart board that have been installed into our building, and it's full of spreadsheet, big connectivity. Here it is. Spring. That's right. We'll start with our wireless. Backtrack a little bit. So we have had a lot of work being done, and a lot of our work, of course, could not be done without the synergy of the facilities team. So I have to thank Vito for a lot of his hard work, helping us kind of get some of this work being done. So our wireless, as you can kind of see on our screen, we added some additional access points to our building. It's going to help us with some ability to be able to bring about some apps that are going to help with the pickup of students. We're really looking forward to that. Really smooth out the process of picking up our learners and making sure that everyone gets on their bus, or those plans that mom and dad make. Those changes, North Office gets them, teachers get them, and then of course we in turn execute those successfully. So not only will it allow us to do that effectively, that pickup process, but we actually turn our attention to our next slide, which is, as you see here, this is one of the outdoor access points on the back side of the building. So if anyone's familiar with, this is the B wing kind of language arts area. There's an access point that now creates an outdoor classroom. So not only are we able to streamline some of our pickup, but now we can extend the classroom to not only just within the classroom, but all what you see there, it's covered with wireless. So now our learners can bring out their iPads, sit underneath the tree, have a lesson, do some interactive things outdoors, because now the wireless extends outside, which is something that I really think is going to be amazing to our learners, to really engage them in the learning process. So instead of being passive learners, they're now active in that process, which is our true desire. There's another space within our building. So on the B wing extension, this is also another area where our access point is placed outdoors. which is really also going to open up an additional space for learning outside. And I really have to credit our administration, their forward thinkingness and bringing other technologies to kind of speed up some of our drills. So not only will this leverage that capability to be able to instruct outdoors, but it's going to allow us to have faster drills, meaning we'll spend less time outside and more time on instruction. So I'm really looking forward to bringing about some of those technologies that really speed up our drill process and kind of shorten that time in which the students are not actively learning, to put that back into the classroom. So that's something I'm really, really excited about. And then, of course, lastly, our smart boards, which we kind of talked about. This is a kind of a picture inside of a room where the teacher was able to use effectively that smart board, and really there's a buzz. There's really a buzz about the smart boards and how easy they are to use and to integrate into a lesson, instead of that struggle. Or will it work? Will it not work? It just works. And the teachers just use it. The students are engaged. They can see the boards clearly, and we're really, really excited about it. And the last point was our introduction of Chromebooks to our 6th grade class. It was a lot of work. It was exciting work, but I think it's well rewarding, because as of this afternoon, we got a couple of comments, and we had a very positive remark from one of our teachers. You know, it only being 2 years of being in the learner's hands, you can really see a change. The ability for the students to really use the keyboard and typing. She noticed that there was a more effective use of the keyboard. Of course, there's some little growing pains in learning, but as we grow, we're actually we're very excited to bring about these technologies. So there's a lot that we've done. There's still a lot more to do. With our network infrastructure project, we have completed phase 1, which included installing of the wireless access points outside of our building to really help us with some of those things that are going to be implemented very soon. It also included some additional wiring to update some old outdated wire that really brings us up to the current levels of technology. And then we're going to be starting phase 2 toward the end of this week, which will update all of the access points within our building. So now we'll have all new wireless access throughout our entire building. And then we'll finish off by updating some of the components that those wireless access points interface with. So we'll have, at the end of this project, we'll have a completely brand new wireless network infrastructure that'll really help us to be able to grow and move forward, because as Superintendent Tenza spoke about, our numbers are growing. That means the need for technology is going to grow, and we want to make sure that it's reliable and robust enough to be able to help our learners and our educators. So those are some of the updates that we have, and if you have any questions, not. Thank you for your time.
Anthony, thank you so much. It's exciting things are happening. So, we appreciate your effort and, your hard work. Thank you. And I agree about the smart boards, because I remember planning lessons and then not being sure that the smart board was gonna work. We always had to have a backup plan. So I'm delighted to hear the teachers are, really embracing that. Excellent. And next on our agenda is our facilities update. So I'm going to welcome Vito Esparro, our Director of Facilities, right there.
Oh, okay.
And-
I don't need a computer.
Yeah, you're talking to the little.
Oh, okay, perfect.
And so Vito, we are happy to have you here. I will say, I'm going to steal a little bit of Jeff's thunder, that facilities had a walk through the building, and clearly your staff under your leadership has done an amazing job, and does an amazing job on a regular basis with a building that is huge. So we thank you for that in advance. Go ahead.
All right, thank you. All right, so I have a list here. I really had to pare this down. If you enjoy my update here, you could join us every other month at the facilities meetings for a longer version of this. So this is like a little trailer for a facilities meeting. We'll start with some summer projects. So a lot of our custodial man hours goes into cleaning all the spaces in the school. So that's a top to bottom cleaning of all the rooms. Our most time consuming task is usually the stripping, scrubbing and waxing of all our hallways, classrooms and office floors that aren't carpeted. Those are steam cleans. We also did the daily cleaning of the summer enrichment and ESY programs. They use 25 plus rooms, including the cafeteria, library. So that was a Monday through Thursday clean this year. I believe they were off Fridays, so not as much as usual, but the Friday off was kind of nice for us to reset and regroup for every week. We recently almost completed our HVAC testing and balancing assessment. This August, we had an air balancer in, and they were checking the functionality of all our air dampers, sensors, and controls programming. We have a meeting with our engineering firm is going to be scheduled shortly. We actually have a date next Monday, the 25th. Our controls company and the air balancer will be on site. They had some punch list items that when they came through this August, they missed, or the engineering firm wants them to retest certain things. So they will be here, but that is going to be finished imminently. So the 25th should be the final day of all the testing. And that even included, all our CO2 sensors. We went sensor by sensor, made sure they all functioned, all the air dampers responded to the reading they were getting. Our PA upgrade is also imminent. This has been something we've talked about for many years, but it's finally about to start. We just finished our final walkthrough last week. So the wiring piece is going to start within the next couple weeks. I'm just waiting for them to get back to me with scheduling, and all that'll be completed after school hours. So to avoid any sort of disruption during the day. And that's very exciting for us because we have a lot of old wiring. So this will all be insulated wire, and it should, lessen the humming and any other sort of anomalies we've had in the system. Our Tools for Schools survey is out. So, and then Tools for Schools, for those who don't know, that is a program we work with our local health department. We tour the school, we tour every classroom, we send the survey out to all the teachers. It has a bunch of questions. A lot of it's HVAC oriented, cleanliness oriented. So this gives the teachers a chance to respond and comment, and then we will process all the surveys, and we'll walk around with our local health department to go room to room and inspect everything top to bottom. That is on the horizon. This August, we did complete all our preventative maintenance for all our HVAC units, rooftop air handlers, classroom fan coils, and unit ventilators. Those all have their MERV 13 filter changes continuing from COVID. We haven't gone back to the MERV 8 or MERV 10. We will see when we get our testing and balancing report if the MERV 13 is adversely affecting the airflow, but until we get some feedback on that, we're going to keep doing the MERV 13 upgrade we started. And over the summer, we completed a bunch of in-house HVAC repairs. We've changed out motors in our train fan coil units, shaft bearings in our unit ventilator units, and we have our controls vendor is also scheduled to be here on the 25th, and we're looking to iron out. We had some minor anomalies in the cooling of a couple of the spaces in the school where our chiller was working perfectly, but for some reason there was a couple spaces the cooling wasn't exactly where we wanted to. It was a couple degree variants, nothing huge, but they're going to be on site, and we're going to get to the bottom of it hopefully that day. The Beecher roofs, we completed our yearly roof assessment with our new roof vendor. The assessment includes a visual inspection with pictures and recommendations for all of our 40 plus different roof sections. We've had success pinpointing some of our problem leaks through this, including our main entrance leak, which has been shown in board meetings for many years. That's been done. And as an update on our roofs, we've only experienced minor leaks. We've had a historic rainfall, it feels like, the past couple of weeks and months. And we've had some minor leaks, but we didn't lose a ceiling tile all summer. So that for me is a very high watermark to say that we have minor leaks we're hunting around for, but nothing where we need umbrellas in the building anymore. So that's very positive, and that's all summer. So very good news there. And on a personal note, this summer, I personally was nominated and voted co-vice president of the Connecticut School Buildings and Grounds Association, which I have the hat here I got as one of my presents. So we're doing great work with that, and that's actually a very big asset to us, because as we navigate all the different HVAC changes and guidelines and regulations, it's good to be able to sit down with a bunch of different people from different districts and see what vendors they like, what they're doing, their timing on different projects. So for me, it's been a great asset, the Connecticut School Building Association. And that's my abridged facilities summer so far report.
Well, first, I want to say congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Actually, a surprise, they nominated me during the meeting. I was setting up the chairs for the graduation. And then when I logged into the meeting at the end, when the chairs were up, they said, well, if you want to accept the nomination, you're the co-vice president. So it worked out great. Nice surprise after the setup. Thank you.
No, I mean, I think you could go on the facility report, but excellent job as always. We get space a little bit more funny, but thank you, Vito and team. School looked great.
Yeah, we walked around with the, and he said, did he say like the only or one of a handful of districts that just take his reports and just immediately put into action the things that he tells us, where he feels frequently that his reports go in a file, or worse, the round file, but when he gives them to us, he feels that we, you know, do our very best to, make the changes that he recommends. And yes, thank you for that, Donna, because, Vito is definitely responsive to the staff and to the health department and to the fire marshal and to all of those people who come into the building to make sure that, we're clean, we're safe, we're secure, Vito's on. So, you know that I personally love you, but I think the board really does appreciate all that you do.
Thank you.
So thank you, Vito. That's it. You can go home and.
Thank you both.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Vito.
Okay, we're moving on to. road
Lynn,
school update. Sherman,
Lynn,
sorry. Vito, come back.
no. I don't know. My question's not for Vito. I didn't know we had a thing for Miss Sherman. No, I'll let Miss Sherman go. And then are we gonna be able to ask questions? I don't have a
After Miss
question. for
Sherman?
Vito. Vito can go.
Vito, you can go.
Sorry.
Okay, and you have a question after, Lisa speaks? Okay, sorry, Erin.
So this is why it's so great to work with these amazing people, because they talk about MERV filters and Wi-Fi access, and I'm gonna talk about DOTS. And that's like the beauty of working in this amazing building. So since our last board meeting, we welcomed all of our students into our building, and it is always joyful to have our building once again filled with lots of laughter and kids and hugs and joy. So it's been really fun to have everyone back in the building. On a curriculum note, our staff started the year as they always do with responsive classroom work, really building that classroom community. They started talking to the kids, especially about their hopes and goals for the new school year. And as I walked around these past couple of weeks, some of the goals and some of the class contracts that the students have been coming up with include words like always try our best, be kind, work hard and have fun, and be safe. So our kiddos really know how to build a class community and support each other as learners. We did celebrate Dot Day on September 15th. Hopefully you got to see some kiddos with their polka dots on. And Dot Day is really all about celebrating creativity, and, you know, a big credit to our amazing art teachers who not only encourage this day, but also encourage creativity all the time. And our walls erupted with polka dots in all sorts of ways, which has been really, really fun to see. I have to give a shout out to our PTO, and thanks to Cindy for being here, but to all of our amazing PTO. They treated us to a delicious lunch before school started. The ice cream social was, I think, the biggest it's been in a while. It was packed. It was really, really fun. Lots of families and children and lots of great connections with the community. Woodbridge Police Department was on hand to help us as well, which was awesome. So it was just a really lovely evening to all come together as a community and just launch the new school year. Couple more things, open house. We also had our open houses, as Vonda mentioned. I always love this opportunity to get the parents into the building, and I found some parents wandering the hall and I got to show them the library, which was super fun for me. And they had the chance to meet their teachers, learn about the great school year their kids would have. And they did learn, as Vonda mentioned, about our new dismissal app, Pick My Kid. That's going to be rolling out very, very soon. We're going to be doing some parent education first, so everyone knows sort of how it runs. We're going to trial it with our staff, and then we're going to make sure that we have a launch all together as a school community, and that will help make our dismissal process even more efficient. Couple more things. As Vonda also mentioned this, but we did do a number of safety drills already. We have already had one fire drill. We've also had extended day do a fire drill at the start of the year, which was very successful. And coming up very soon is a bus evacuation drill. Our safety and security committee meeting has already happened once. We've already had opportunities to talk through some of our security protocols and make some plans for the rest of the year. Couple more things. So, it's National Hispanic Heritage Month that launched on September 15th. I have to give a thank you to our new MLL teacher, Natasha. She actually shared some resources already with the staff. And there's also a number of resources in the library. And I will, as always, be sharing out some resources and activities with the staff. And my two last updates is that, as Vonda mentioned, we did get to participate in the Science of Reading Masterclass. This was an amazing day of learning. I was so happy to be there and to be listening and learning from Margie Gillis. I was very grateful for the opportunity. She is a nationally recognized literacy expert. The great thing is being in that group, and as I talked with our literacy folks afterwards, we all felt really good because a lot of what we were learning and talking about was affirming the work that we have been doing for the last couple of years. So that felt really good. It was nice to be overwhelmed, but not dramatically so. And we are very excited to work with some affinity groups, and our coaches that we're working with will be coming for a visit to have some time, spend some time with us and see our amazing building and the work that we're doing right here in our building. So we're really, really excited for this partnership. And finally, last update, the salad bar is back in the cafeteria. This is big news in the Beecher community. We're all very excited. It's very fun watching the kiddos order their salads once again. First time it's back since COVID. So we're pretty happy about that. And the ice cream machine is also back. So those are key updates for a principal to share, I feel like. Any questions for me?
Any questions?
Patrick about that ice cream.
Listen, when my graduated child told me, like when I told her it was back, she was like, can I come and get, because I didn't get ice cream, third grade. And I was like, no, sorry. You're in the middle school now, you're on your own. Yeah, yep. Thank you.
It's exciting news.
It's exciting, that ice cream machine.
Thanks so much.
Hi, Lynn.
Teacher Road. Oh, Erin, sorry.
No, thanks. I appreciate it. I don't know if my question is for Lisa or Vonda, and I know we don't respond to public comment, but actually the public comment that was brought up, I do think it's something that I've also been hearing a lot about, and I do think it's important for us to give some information because it is a shift from what we've told people publicly at these meetings. So if someone could just describe, even to me, because I was actually surprised about sixth grade math. I have a sixth grader, as many of you know, and actually emailed his teacher to find out like where is he in math, and was surprised that there had been a shift in how we were doing math. So if either Vonda or Lisa could just explain those two shifts and kind of why they were made to provide some context, I think it'd be helpful for the broader community. And me as a parent and a school board member.
I only heard part of that. The second part was math. Pre-algebra specifically, or?
Not pre-algebra specifically, but just sixth grade math. What is happening with sixth grade math? What are the different pre-algebra is part of that, but the last I thought we were doing pre-algebra and then there was going to be kind of a tiered system. I don't know exactly. I hear that's not happening anymore. So I just explaining sixth grade math, because I do think it's confusing to a lot of parents, even how people are placed. And I know we did have a session on it last year, and I'm not sure if anything's changed or what happened. And then I do also think the placements of the kids, because that was different than in the past, and just help us understand kind of why that decision was made, what the thought process was of the administration.
Sure. So I'm going to start with sixth grade math, and here to know where to look. So sixth grade is departmentalized. This year, because we have 7 teachers, they have a team of 4 and a team of 3. So working out their schedule was a little challenging, and the sixth grade teachers actually wrestled with it a lot last year and came up with a schedule that is working really well for the students and for them. So when I say departmentalized, what I mean is that they are assigned a homeroom teacher, the students, and they will see that teacher often for one content area, sometimes 2, depending on which team they're on. So there are currently 2 math teachers in the sixth grade that are teaching math to all of the sixth grade kids. Now, because of that, those 2 teachers are able to work very closely with the math specialists because they're working with 2 teachers instead of with 6 teachers. So the math specialists are able to work very closely with them. We're very fortunate because our math specialists are very strong in what they do. One of them is a former sixth grade teacher. So last year, they started working with the sixth grade teachers on creating groups within groups, so to speak. So as we looked at the sixth grade cohort and realized that we would not be able to offer pre-algebra this year, what we started talking about is offering groups within each classroom of the students that are being serviced. So within each sixth grade classroom, they have the list of names of the students who, well, they have fifth grade data to look back at, I guess, not just the pre-algebra test. So what they did to start the year is that they had some time to look through the fifth grade data of the incoming sixth graders, and they had the opportunity to sort of talk through and plan out what instruction will look like within each of those classrooms. Now, I will say to start the year, because they're getting to know over 100 students, like some of that takes some time. You know, it's different when you read a name on a page and you look at scores across the table versus seeing the kid in the classroom, how they're interacting with their peers, the work that they're doing in sixth grade. It's also really important to note that sixth grade math is different and moves into different standards than any other year beforehand. They hit standards in sixth grade that they've never experienced before. It's not like third grade and fourth grade and fifth grade, where like in third grade, you learn beginning multiplication, and then in fourth grade, you expand to multi-digit multiplication, and then in fifth grade, you expand into like, you know, decimals and multiplication. In sixth grade, you're hitting things like ratios and rates, which is totally different than anything they've experienced before. So the content and the concepts and the Common Core standards, there will be things that are different. So because of that, some of it will be brand new to some of the students. And also because of that, we felt very strongly for the need for the groups to be flexible. So when I speak about these groups within a group, I really mean that the teachers are going to be administering pre-assessments, looking at the data for their students, and then making their groups within each class of how they're going to teach those students. And some of those students will have the opportunity to work on accelerated concepts, and some of those students will follow the regular sixth grade curriculum. Now, every single sixth grader, based on their data, still has the opportunity to participate in the seventh grade assessment should they qualify. And I think it's also important to note that at this point last year, around this point last year, we were talking about our pre-algebra class and making sure that it was more aligned with the middle school standards, because our criteria was very far off from the middle school criteria. So our criteria is now more closely aligned to the middle school criteria. I can also tell you that in week 3 of school, my math specialist already had a meeting with me about fifth grade curriculum and about fifth grade instruction. And we already started having conversations about the work that we needed to do within the fifth grade mathematics curriculum and ways that we can support students with different kind of work. However, it is our Beecher philosophy to go deeper and not go beyond. So we believe very firmly in the fact that you can take a concept that you have learned and you can apply it in different ways, through complex word problems, through logic puzzles and problems. And there's so many different ways that you can take a concept and go a little bit deeper with it rather than going beyond what you're already learning. So Erin, did I answer the question?
Yeah, I have two more questions around that. One is, did we have no kids that were eligible for pre-algebra in the
Correct.
sixth grade, or how
So-
many kids?
So Erin, I'm a little uncomfortable sharing that because the number was low enough that it would
Okay.
really be identifiable. It was a low enough number that as we talked through that administratively, we could not run the course.
Okay, that's helpful to know, just that the number was low enough that it wouldn't be a
Yeah.
focus. I,
Yeah.
I think, and this is less a question, but I do think it would be helpful in the future to kind of share that information back to the board and community. Because I think, I didn't know that. I emailed my kid's math teacher to find out, where he was. And so it was, I think, a surprise, since it is a shift from what we've done, and figuring out just a way, again, figuring out a way to communicate back to the community so that parents just feel informed about how their kids are being taught and the rationale behind some of these decisions, I just think is really important that we do, especially since we are in such a small community and we're in a community where things have kind of proceeded a certain way. And so there's an assumption that that's going to continue year after year unless some other information is provided.
Yeah, thanks, Erin. I appreciate that feedback. I will say that the students who took the pre-algebra test, they did get a letter or a phone call from me. Other parents also have reached out. Pre-algebra is definitely a topic that the community is very interested in. So I have had conversations literally all summer long with people who have reached out to me. But every kid who took the assessment to qualify for pre-algebra did receive either a letter or a phone call. But you're right, I did not communicate that out to the larger community and the Board of Education, and for that, I apologize.
Yeah, no worries. And for me, for whatever reason, and I could be remembering wrong, I thought there was even tiers within the sixth grade. And again, I could be totally misremembering something. That would not be the first time. I am curious though also about, if you don't mind just taking a couple minutes to explain the how we're doing the classrooms and those assignments.
Yeah.
So Lisa, can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
I'm looking at who's online and who's sitting here, very limited number of people. And it seems like that's a prevalent concern or,
Yep.
or question about how that's being done in the school. So maybe I would suggest if you could create a communication that can
Sure.
go out to the greater school
Yep.
community. So everybody hears the same thing from,
Do you want me to answer it now and do that, or do you want me to just do that?
I think, just a written communication
Okay.
sent out to everyone so that everybody hears it at the same time. And will that?
I mean, I'd be curious to know now in case we have questions. I mean, but it's up to you.
So I've had parents reach out and say, what happens to the pre-algebra test? And I was like, just at the board at any time, it was never mentioned. And now I'm hearing about it, it's good. And I think that communication does need to go out, and I think that we need the time to really structure it and send it out and we'll get it out. So I don't mind if that's left to the communication.
And then,
And her second teacher here.
could you, when you maybe talk about pre-algebra, to go out to the greater community, because there's a small number of people who are hearing that now. And I always feel like it becomes a telephone thing,
Yes.
and they don't report, the reporting sometimes it gets lost in translation. And so to hear it from you, I think would be really very helpful. And at the same time, to hear about class placement would be helpful. And I know that always you end your communications with, if you have any questions, to reach out
Yeah.
to
Me.
you.
Or Cheryl or Jimmy.
Or Cheryl or Jimmy or from all.
Can I quickly ask, Aaron asked the question, pre-algebra. So this year it's rocked, is that I'm hearing? So is there a plan or strategy in place that we're gonna put it back at some time? Is there a minimum number that we require in the class to run it? I know in the past, there's been parents who complained about, so when they go to middle school, I hear this back, my kids are in middle school, now in high school, I hear back that, up to 3 kids that got in, and 2 of them are really struggling, and it's been a bad decision. So is there any way we can get a presentation? Erin, would that help? We get a presentation on pre-algebra and what our strategy is with respect to that, how we've done with respect to that in the past, how the students done with respect to that. Because I think all of those pieces go together,
I think,
help us
Oh,
make
I
better
think
decisions.
suggest that, Mike, maybe this is, something that we should add to, there will be an October curriculum committee meeting. Is that something that you could
Sure.
address?
yeah, I
Or
was,
the-
I was,
And then maybe the math,
Yeah.
Specialist could
Yeah.
be part of that presentation.
I was gonna say, I know that the middle school, feels very strongly that once the students are theirs, they're like, they work really hard not to separate out Woodbridge and Bethany, I feel, so they're theirs, right? So they're just middle school kids, so, but I can certainly reach out and see if I can gather some more
If we can get some
information.
data, it'd be good to know.
Sure
whether we're on
thing.
the right track,
Yeah.
really doing better.
Yeah.
Kids, are they really advancing along to
Yeah.
that set? I think that's the key. What can we do here to really encourage more students to go along that track, if that's something that's working?
Yep.
Or, you know, let's look at that wheel and see if we can make it a little better. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense. Thank you.
And I think I would suggest if we have it at the full board, this is a community issue. And I think having it at a curriculum committee meeting, I think the discussions are great. But I'd really like this to come back to the full board and we get a quick presentation on, you know, the ideas that we discussed and. You guys are
I
good.
mean, I'm here all the time, so I'm happy to.
Yeah. that would be
I'll
really
listen to
good.
I'll listen to my bosses over there and I'll be at both places, so,
Be really.
good. So don't answer the classroom composition committee right now, classroom. joining. Communication.
You guys, yeah, I fully agree with communication is a great idea, but was there a change in way students were placed this year? Like, I'm looking for yes or no, but.
Yes,
Okay. So
Yeah,
We get to the,
Okay, and you will outline that and get it out to the greater community. Perfect. And that would be an appropriate response from the board as we say that district administration will follow up at the time. So, I'm happy to, have that happen, so thank you.
Lynn, so then, yeah, I guess if we have questions, should we be prepared to ask them next meeting?
yeah,
Yeah, I think if you reach out to Lisa with your question, she can address them at the next meeting.
Okay.
Or maybe it might be a personal question, she could address it with you personally. Okay, Beach Road School Town Building Committee update. Donna, are you?
Yes, I'm gonna, and I apologize, for those at home that I don't have my camera on. I accidentally said no to the access when I logged in and, anyway, trust me, I'm amazing. Well, you know.
Yes, you are.
Okay. So, on September 8th, we had, the ad hoc town building committee meeting and David Stein of Silver Petrocelli, who is the architect that we chose for the roof and site improvement projects. He gave us sort of a timeline of the roof and the site improvements will actually be two different projects. The roof is going to start with schematic designs starting in October and November. In fact, we're closed on Yom Kippur, but they are going to have somebody on the roof taking some measurements that day. They will have construction documents by November, working in November and December. They plan to submit, assuming we choose to the Office of School Construction Grants by November 10th. From January to March, it'll be going through local approvals, Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen. And then we will do the bid in April and hopefully award by May. And then construction can begin when school gets out mid-June and hopefully have it closed out by September. This will be amazing. The site improvements, which is like the cracked parking lot and the little walkways around the egress of the outdoor buildings on the classrooms and things. Similar timeline, it will take a little longer. Schematic designs, September through November. Construction documents, November through January. Local approvals, January through March. Bidding and award, April and May. Construction, it says May, might be a little optimistic. I don't, if they're, I can't see them tearing up any parking lot before school's out. Ending mid-fall and hopefully closing out that project with the state by December. So that's about all we kind of handled, took on at that meeting. It's a quick one, but also very exciting
It will be very.
to be moving some of the stuff forward.
So all of that's happening during the summer of next year, right?
The construction.
You guys know, so do the summer programs.
So that, I did want to add that we will shortly be having meetings with the individual summer enrichment, extended school year and rec to discuss alternative locations. And we have some alternative locations that we've gone to in the past. So I need to be able to have some conversations with them as well. But it probably would be safest for everybody to not be here while that's all happening.
We discussed that a little bit, Jay, at facility. So Vonda, down.
Yep, we'd like to get all of those groups informed before November so that they all have time to start thinking, even the receiving area that is going to get there. Yeah.
It's great. So.
It's like,
Touch wood.
We all have our fingers crossed. Great. Thank you, Donna.
You're welcome.
Facilities committee report, Jeff?
Yes, I can make it short as we went over in depth. We met September 7th. Obviously, he's done an incredible job this summer, him and his team. I always have to point this out, but the first thing Vito does when he comes to a problem, to see if he could figure it out himself, which is a huge savings to our district. He doesn't just call a contractor or get someone in. He sees if he can figure it out, and most of the time he does. So it's quite impressive. He's self-learned, he figures things out in-house. It's a huge savings to the district. He does an excellent job with it. It's quite impressive, actually.
And he schedules himself, if he doesn't know, to be there with them so that the next time he
Yes.
knows,
Yes. He is always learning, and it's incredible, and it's a huge savings. I wish somehow we could capture that data because it's astronomical. It's safe for our district. As you mentioned, some roof repairs, outdoor lighting repairs, some rotunda window repairs, various HVAC repairs throughout the summer. We also had the opportunity to do a walkthrough of the school this past meeting. School looks great on the surface. He does a great job, and his team keep it clean. I also like to point out, though, we also noticed some aging infrastructure of the school. There's an elevator, it's gonna be a costly repair, it's coming of age. There's some exterior painting, there's numerous windows, doors. So all the good work is done. There's still more that needs to be done. So that just has to be known, forever addressing this facility. And then if I like add, we're gonna do an exterior ground walkthrough like we did in the interior at our next facilities meeting in November, I believe. Yes, wear your gloves.
To some infrastructure thing, that one of the things that was pointed out, the work that was done on those rotunda windows was done because of the potential of some small leaks that appeared.
Yes.
And the potential of that becoming a bigger problem. So Vito is working on that, but we have to know, and I'm gonna say it again publicly, because we have to say it every time we meet publicly. We are only doing a portion of the roof, and the rest of the roof, we're going to have to address down the line. This is not a one and done, situation that we're looking at here. This is a huge building footprint, and, there are a lot of, that are aging out at different times, and we can't ignore it.
it's in areas, it's not like it's in all of us.
You don't really touched on it, but this roof has, I think, 41 different roof elevations. which is almost unheard of. Usually you get 1 or 2 on a flat roof, we have 41. That's huge. But if we're only gonna look at 1 or 2 now, there'll be others down the road.
So, those of you who tune in regularly, probably on monthly, or more often basis, but, we want to be completely transparent in what we're asking for and what the future needs are going to be.
So Lynn, to give an idea, how much is being done? What fraction of the roof is actually being redone? You know?
I would say 20 to 25%.
It's around that range. That'd be a good stat to come up with.
Because then everybody
Yeah.
gets an idea on how
Yeah.
much is still left.
Mhm.
And if you could give us a projection on the useful life of the rest. of the
And that
components.
I know it got like a grade of a B or a B minus. It wasn't like a terrible grade,
Yeah,
the
but they
part
degrade
that,
quick.
you know, but,
Yeah.
right.
You get a leak.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And we saw that for pre-COVID. You know, we knew we had some little leaks, but then it just came.
I want to be ahead of the curve on these because Jeff will probably confirm, you don't want to get anything else damaged. Electrical, any of the plumbing or anything else.
Yeah.
So that.
Just
Yep.
kind of have a schedule.
Yes. Yes,
So
you want to financially get ahead too.
That's
but
what
you
I'm
want-
saying.
You want to
Now we
plan
know
for the
that
future.
this is when we need to go and raise capital. They know that. You have a plan.
And we talked about that during the facility.
Yes.
Well, Jim,
Yep.
about going back to our 6-year capital plan, because just because the roof is being fixed doesn't mean we don't have what Jeff talked about, these other issues that we need to address.
It's easy to look at the elephant and forget the rest.
Right,
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Any other questions or comments about facilities? Okay, finance.
Finance committee. With, as usual, full credit to Donna. We're starting off the year in actually quite good shape. And of course, the qualification I will pass along, channeling from the expert, is it's the beginning of the year, so who knows what's going to happen exactly. But that said, we actually already have some savings in the budget, and I'll just run through those quickly, and then a couple other comments. And then after we talk about the numbers, we'll talk about the schedules for preparing the budget for the 2024 school year. All right, so in the 100 series, we have an estimated savings right now of about $66,000. We had an unexpected teacher turnover, so that's contributing to it, as well as a vacant school psychologist position. Jumping down to the 300 series, we actually have a surplus currently of $148,000. And this reflects the transition from receiving our security services through the town police department to bringing on Officer Lynch, or retired Officer Lynch. I'm not sure, does officer still count as like president? You have it for life? That's Security Officer Lynch has joined our school. So there's really a tremendous savings for us with that. In terms of, I'll just note for the 500 series, which includes student transportation, as we've seen, our numbers keep going up. We may need another half bus at some point soon. So, keep that in mind. That will be a cost that's not budgeted that we'll need to account for. And then in the 700 series, we are 45,000 ahead right now because we were able to pre-buy Chromebooks with the fiscal year 2023 surplus. So that's also put us in a good position. So, if nothing else, it gives us some flexibility as we look ahead to, what what unexpected travail may come our way. That said, if we flip ahead to the special revenue programs, just a couple of notes to pass along. If you go to the bottom of the sheet, current fund balance, you'll notice for the cafe, there's quite a substantial surplus at the moment. And this is something that I know Donna has been looking into. Because the state actually has some specific parameters around what size surplus they want to see and where it might exceed that. And so to think about what that means in terms of expenditures, to get that in line with what the state considers reasonable. The other is with the expendable trust. There's a large balance on that as well. And an idea that Don had floated was, as we look toward expenses for the roof next year, there may be ways we want to think about allocating some of those funds toward those costs.
If we have to rent something or
Yeah, rents, those types of things. So,
stay
yeah.
over the summer.
What's the specific mandate expendable?
Oh. I don't think there is one for expendable trust for the cafeteria. You're not allowed to keep more than 90 days.
Right, so that was the first
Yeah.
one what's the reserve balance? So it's 90 days reserve balance, is that what they look at?
Yes, so we have, you don't see it here, but we have, like 240.
I was just gonna say,
Yeah.
you're probably exceeding.
So
the
we
90
have about
days.
$240,000 that we need to tell the state how we're gonna use over the next things. They like us to tell us a year, but I think they'll really give us 2, yeah.
The expendable trust, that's the next thing.
Yeah, that's mostly the summer enrichment program, so that's built up. So, they need to think about doing something with those funds. But as Stephen mentioned, we did just think about to ourselves at the finance committee meeting, that could come in handy if we end up having to rent something this summer to have the program while our roof and the site improvement
Right,
are being
so
done.
cost that out ain't ready,
Yeah.
because you're gonna have to pay for something. It's not-
But we also need to, think about what the users of those programs, what would benefit them, and what should we do with that money to benefit them.
And do they ever make submissions to us on what they need and?
Yeah, extended day has, I haven't got anything from SCP other than just supplies, but yeah, they might want to do something a little bigger.
No, that's great. I did have a question very quickly. So Stephen, you mentioned savings, the first two and the 100 series. I won't call them savings. We just don't have the staff in place. And so the other two are definitely savings. I think it's
Right.
excellent. We got security officer in. That's a fantastic saving there. for us. And what I like about that is it's non-instruction. So that money goes straight into instruction. So that's an excellent saving. And the Chromebooks, I guess we got a good deal on them. Anthony was talking to me earlier. And we got a very good deal today, so that's fantastic. That's
We'll
cool.
get a license, probably
Yeah.
225.
And we're still looking for a psychologist.
That's right.
And we've got one teacher short, right?
I think that is the teacher that
And
we're
that
talking
explains the 66,000. So. Right away,
Mhm.
50,000. Right? Like you said, it's impossible with one more thing.
Right.
We'll see what happens. Yeah, with the positions that are open, they're not gonna get filled next week.
Yeah.
So there will be some savings
Right.
coming from those lines. Not as,
But it's not a
not
savings
as
we want, it's a savings.
well, no, it's not the savings we want, but
It's- The saving positions. Won't be.
Other questions on the numbers? All right, well, let's talk about the draft budget calendar.
Carrie, did you?
Oh,
No?
oh,
Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to share that I want to make sure people know that while we are still looking for a psychologist, we do have that position filled with one of our current staff members. We have hired one of our social workers to work full time through January. We're going to reevaluate in December, and we're still looking for candidates. But I'm not sure if that impacts any of your discussion, but I just want to share that we do in fact have someone in the position to help support our mental health staff team, but we are still looking to hire a half-time psychologist.
Thank you, Carrie. That's important.
that's great.
That's excellent.
All right, so for the draft budget calendar, let's start with two framing ideas. One is the role of the superintendent is to create the shape of the budget. And then we engage in that process and, agree to a budget that we feel comfortable as a board supporting. The other is we have a deadline, which is January 5th. And that's when our budget is due to the town. Anyone who's created a budget, well, we're going to walk through the process, but what we will say about this budget is it includes 5 potential touch points where the board will be engaged in conversation with the superintendent around the budget. Let's walk through it and then have discussion, see what we think. So to begin with, in October, budget worksheets will be distributed to administrators on October 10th. 3 weeks later, exactly 3 weeks later, they will be due to the administrators. They will be due to come back. A very tight timeline when you're doing your job, and on top of that, trying to estimate budget numbers for the following year. That brings us to November 14th. So in the 2 weeks between the return of the budget worksheets, Vonda and Donna and other parts of the administrative team are going to try to put together some initial ideas around what they're seeing, what they think this means, and aspirationally, what they're hoping to accomplish. So as you see on the 14th, we've got the superintendent budget update and the capital budget presentation. And so what we've suggested is this is an opportunity for Vonda to say, here are some of the things I'm seeing. This is not a budget presentation. There's no way you're going to pull together that budget in 2 weeks, but just to give us some top line preview of what may be coming. So for example, in the last budget cycle, some of us were unaware that including a second assistant principal was going to be part of the proposal. This will give us an opportunity if there's that kind of positional change, kind of structural change. We'll get a heads up on that so we can start to think about it and think about what our
Think we're
questions
going
will
up a bus or something,
Yeah, something, that's going to have a substantial budget impact. That's going to be substantively different from prior years. Then we have our regular board meeting 6 days later on the 20th. And this will be the Board of Education voting on the capital budget. So what I will say is this. I think it behooves us as board members, if we're really invested in this process, to actually tune into the finance committee meeting or watch it on tape after, so that you're able to come into the meeting on the 20th with a general awareness of what's coming up, what's coming down the pike. Then we have some time, a few weeks elapse, which is the opportunity for Vonda and Donna and the rest of the administrative team to in fact draft a budget. And then on December 11th, there'll be a special meeting where the operating budget will be presented to the board. And this will be an opportunity for us to see the parameters of the budget, to begin to ask questions with no expectation that all of those questions can be answered. A lot of it will be kind of going back, but that will really be our time to say, okay, here's what we're seeing. Here are the things that are coming to mind. And there'll be some time to then allow Vonda and Donna and the administrative team to research some of those answers, to think about some of the, what they're presenting. That brings us to January 3rd. Now, the reality is.
The 18th
Oh.
are ready.
Oh, sorry. 18th. Yeah, I totally missed that. Then we have our regular board meeting on the 18th. So in a sense, that's touch point 4. And that is where we can ask more questions, and there'll be an opportunity. There'll be a whole week for you to answer every question we come up with, of course, and we'll have more then. This will also be, what's challenging about this timing is we're asking a lot of the administrative team You know, I mean, in an ideal world, our budget wouldn't be due till March, and we would have several months to noodle on this. So we're asking a lot of them. In order for us to provide a meaningful contribution, we also need to ask a lot of ourselves. So it is our responsibility to really be engaged in what's a busy time and holidays, end of year, we've got so many things going on, that we actually do our homework so that when we come into these meetings, we can ask the thoughtful questions and, you know, allow sufficient time in this very tight time frame for Vonda and the team to be responsive to our requests. So that ideally we come back on the 3rd and are able to have a vote on the budget. And we've got a fallback date of the 4th in case we need more conversation and or we actually ever have snow again. And, you know, we need, or ice storm, or what have you, to be able to meet. And then, of course, we've got, you know, the deadline, then the budget has to be submitted on the 5th. The budget presentation to Board of Selectmen rather, and operating capital budget presentation to Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance on the 23rd of January. Jump ahead to April when we have the public hearing and then, you know, the final approval dates. This is, you know, from my perspective, a very fair approach to enabling us to be more engaged in terms of being able to interrogate the budget, to really understand what's going on and to provide input. It's not ideal, but we're dealing with the constraint of what the town's timeline is. End of my remarks, curious what people think.
Thank you. That was really comprehensive reporting on what we discussed in the finance committee. So any questions or comments to make? I will say that we did accept this draft budget calendar in the consent agenda this evening. So there's no need to vote on this. We already did that. But if anyone has a question or comment.
I think it's a well thought out plan. It engages us more. I think it's great. One thing we talked about doing is reviving that capital summary or the planning document we used to have. You know, it'd be extremely helpful. Gets a good look out, especially in the future of any capital needs. I think that would be helpful. And I also think having our current financial summary every meeting is extremely helpful. And it shows you where we're at now. You guys did a great job of anything that's up.
And I found in the share drive, the whole Al's old thing,
perfect.
so I
Yep.
will be able to.
Great.
And maybe I'll just mention, if anybody's wondering about the capital budget seems a little later than previous years, that is at the request of the town, as they're turning over a number of seats. You know, they are gonna have a bunch of new members in January, and they kind of asked us to have the capital budget not come till January as well, so. that's
Yeah,
why that-
normally we would present our capital budget beginning of December. But because the Board of Selectmen will be changing over at least 4 seats of the 6. They felt that they would like to have the new Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance look at that capital budget. So that's been also kind of recalculated. And they're going to have to make some decisions about what they're going to do every other year. With that, now that the election cycle has changed.
Hopefully the budget has changed too, towards the March.
Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice?
On that note, I'm glad. I'm really pleased to see that we got back some resemblance, some planning and involvement. The 3 things I think as board members we want, I've said 22 finance committees, so this is the 22nd. Time to make decisions. That's the most important thing I realized when it's done. The second thing is the information set, where we get to ask questions in public. And again, I think this is a great process where you've come up with a great schedule. What I would say going forward is that, you know, I'm sort of saying, we're starting this late October, given our timeline is so early. So we could go to September, and this is looking forward to 25, 26, where we could start at the end of, once the open houses are over, we submit the material to the administration. They'll get 4 weeks to Spirit Day, I guess. And then from Spirit Day, you move forward where we're in October now, where you can look at the capital plan and have a month to make a decision. So the presentation is made, we go and vote at the next meeting a month later. If we could stagger everything with 4 weeks, that gives us time to really hear from everybody rather than 6 days. So I'm looking at the 6 days there.
I'm gonna respond to that.
Yeah.
Somebody who was in the trenches, creating what was necessary to go to the administration so that they could do their work. So the teachers are welcoming a new group of kids. They're having their open houses, they're doing all that beginning of the year stuff, they're creating their classroom community. And in the second week of school, when you're back 10 days and you get your budget worksheet from the school principal, it was very overwhelming, Jay, to say, I'm just looking at this class and I have to think about next year's class. And then they have to do their work, all the teachers, all the specialists have to do their work. And then, because that's not on it.
Right.
And then they have to present that to the administrators, who then take all of the teachers and the specialists' work, and then they start working on it on October 10th. So for the teachers to have that first month of school to do all the things that are the beginning of school things and create, like for the first grade team, their budget workshop, the music program, the gym PE program. That's what we do. That first level up until the 30th of September. I don't, maybe I'm speaking up, maybe it's changed, but that's how it was. We had until the 30th September to kind of get that stuff together and give it to, and then they had 10 days to put it together. It's a real crunch time, and we can't ask our teachers to start doing budget work in August because they're not under contract to work then.
Oh, no. So that's, no, I get the conflict.
It becomes really hard, and I think that's what Stephen was trying to point out, is that how does this get done in this amount of time when we're also starting our new school year, you know? But that's what we do every year. That's what our administrators do. They do an amazing job.
Yeah, but on that front, I'm sure there's templates that go out to all the different administrators and teachers to say, these are the sorts of things that, you know, you would like for next year. This is a standard template. Everything's put in, everything's automated, everything goes straight through to some sort of central office. You guys look at the numbers. So from that front, I think I understand the part, yes, we're really putting a lot on them. But at the same time, I'm thinking we could move it up a little bit. So we're starting at the 10th. This year, I'm fine with this. I think this year, this is great, incremental steps. But what I'm sort of trying to figure out here is that we've got a capital budget where we're getting 6 days. And going forward, the capital budget is going to be very important for us, given the state of the building and given all the other things that go with it. So I think that's important. On the operating budget, really pleased to see that we're going to see that presentation. And we're going to get 7 days and question and answer. And then we vote the following week. I think that's excellent. We get some time. Yes, it's over the holiday period. And yes, we're going to miss a few days with holidays, etc. But you ideally want to give board members time. And that's what we heard last, right?
I will say though,
We've got to
too,
find a way to do that.
I mean, the one thing I'll say though too is it's important that board members have this time, but we're also not the ones doing the work. It's the administrators and the teachers and everyone in this building who's making this place run, who are the reason we're here. So in a sense, that's why I feel I would agree. I mean, like I said, in an ideal world, like I'd love to know what we could do to move that budget deadline better, so that we're not having to, right after New Year's, vote on a budget. It seems slightly absurd. But I do want to say that in a sense, this, you know, they're doing exceptional full-time work, and then you layer a budget process on top. And what I appreciate about the budget process here is there is conversation and thought and convening and communication that happens on the different teams that all builds up to what will ultimately be the superintendent's budget versus just saying like, check the box or add 3% and, you know, move it forward for next year, because I don't have time to think about it. And we don't build time in the schedule to actually communicate about it. So it's like, I'd rather, Frank, I mean, I would always prefer that they have more time because they're actually doing the work than my time. Like for me, it's like if I need to read it on the weekend, I need to read it on the weekend. If I need to read it over the holiday and think about it, I need to do it because it's about making sure this system runs well. So I fully agree that it's not ideal, but I also think that this has been, I was really impressed with, as I say, the number of touch points and really being responsive to our concern about having multiple opportunities to sort of understand where this is going, get a preview of it, not be surprised, and really have a chance to ask and have questions answered.
And so this year, I think we could do the capital budget a little later, right? Instead of the 6 days. Could we not have it later?
We could, I think. we
Yeah, the
could
votes
move
on the capital budget. Yeah.
To, I'll also remind you that the capital budget is like rolling down.
Yep, 6-year document.
So like we've already looked at 5 of them. And then we're adding on.
Yep, and then we're
Yeah.
looking at more, right?
Um,
And
And
where
so
does the
we got-
facilities committee come in on that?
Facilities is going to start talking about capital.
So, well,
When does that-
at our in
November.
At which meeting?
in November?
Unless we have to have, because something October.
That would be the October meeting, right? That's what I would have thought.
Well, we can schedule.
Oh, okay, for every other.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Might have to.
To October, yeah,
Because then that
Right.
feeds into finance,
yeah.
and then that feeds into the
What does he-
presentation.
You got.
That's what I mean. So it goes from here to there, and then it goes to the board, right? To the superintendent.
An earlier meeting.
So that's that. But no, this is great. I think this is excellent. Timeline's tough, and the holiday periods are in the middle there.
Yeah, it is. No, but credit to Vonda
Yeah.
and Donna, because they're the ones who created this.
Yeah, if I could, we did hear the board's thoughts on wanting multiple touch points earlier if possible. So we,
Very reasonable.
right, very, very reasonable. So we did add an additional meeting prior to the December board meeting where we would just present. And you can start to think about your questions and ask some big ones and give us, questions to prepare for. And we also did make sure that in November, we could highlight anything that does come up that we're thinking like proactively, big picture. I do have to say, I have a lot of experience, not that many budgets as you, and I appreciate your insight. But in a public education system, the first 6 weeks of school are consumed with supporting teachers, supporting administrators, supporting students. Believe it or not, budgetary reports, EFS reports, they're time consuming. There's a teacher
Audits going on,
evaluation, setting, to ask our administrators to do anything like that prior to the end of September when they're kind of contractually obligated to meet and set goals with teachers, and then I need to meet and set goals with them. That really does bring us into October. It really does. When Donna and I pushed this up and Stephen Lawrence pushed back and said, can you do this? My words were, we can, but we cannot go any earlier. And if anything, our board needs to advocate for going later on the other end. If possible with our town.
That's
Like,
always been
that-
my issue too.
because the earlier we project, we don't even have our firm enrollment until October 1st, the less accurate they're going to be. And we prefer as a team to be very accurate if possible.
And we as a board, we want that
Yes,
too.
you would appreciate our accuracy. So, I think it would be helpful for us when we have a chance to breathe collectively, to look at other districts that have later timelines and see what those look like. Because this is truly the earliest process that I've ever seen in this district when we pushed it up even that week. But we're excited to be able to give you multiple touch points, and we're excited to do the work. I think it'll be good. To keep you informed and share what we're thinking. We don't have any grandiose plans yet.
No, I think the part that I love is where you can give us an idea on how our strategic plan relates to the budget. So the budgets, people most think budgets are numbers. These numbers get translated into outcomes.
A budget's a vision.
And so for me, what I want to see is how those investments we are making as a town are translating into these outcomes. And I think that's the level of budgeting that I would like us to do. So we're not focusing on the 2% or the 4%. We're focusing on those outcomes that the administration and the teachers all want us to achieve, and so does our community. And so I'd like to see that. And that's why I was very pleased to see when Stephen mentioned it was going to be this narrative where you would be able to tell us in advance that, you know, we're thinking about this and thinking about this. And this is what you guys told us on the strategic plan. So this is where this money's going. This isn't working, so we're going to come back up. These are really, really important for us because coming to that role, you're going to get greater consensus. That's just the way I budget it. When we have these discussions in advance, and then we go to the budget meeting where you say, remember, we had these discussions already. Those key variances are already out of the window, and we're sitting there looking at little minor things. And I think that would help us all in this tight budget timeframe. So I'll definitely buy the 10-10.
Yeah, no, and Jay, credit to you because you've been such a strong and important advocate for ensuring that the board is more engaged and has these touch points. So credit to you.
And I think I'm gonna submit some information to you, something you just asked, Yvonne, that what do similar districts do? So I was able to talk to Cade finally, and they did suggest a few districts that were similar to ours that we could look at in terms of policy and in terms of schedules. And they also answered the question on whether, finance was in charge of this or not. The answer they gave me, which was very interesting, they said to me they didn't have a finance expert at CABE. They said I knew more than they did about budgeting process, which was very interesting. So I think it's something that we really need to reach out to them and ask them about, but I can forward some of those on from our neighboring districts.
I don't want anything.
Most of them are March, from what I can
Yes,
see.
that.
March 15th is the number that came
To be.
And I think we could petition the town at some point to say, let's be consistent with other towns.
I think it's a good point. I also think Jay, second on for career. Business, academia, and then CABE.
Absolutely.
I see the pathway. There you go.
Put it in the case. Go ahead, Maria. I just had a point of clarification and also correct me if I'm wrong, but all of these touch points that we have, whether they are finance committee, clearly the regular board meeting, but any of these special meetings and presentations, these are all public meetings and publicly noticed meetings.
Yeah, they just can't have any.
Correct. So, right, but they, it does give a chance for, these conversations will happen in public. And the public is welcome to join those meetings, whether in person and virtually, and hear that discussion during that time. So whether that is joining us for the finance committee or the regular board meeting, or any of the special meetings along the way, those are public meetings. Yeah, okay, thank you. Great. Anything else?
It's
Policy. Okay. So board members, in your packet today, we have policy 1110. This is a policy that the committee worked on over the summer. It was introduced to you at the August meeting. And it has been on 30-day review, which is a chance for us to kind of mull over it, ask any questions of any members of the policy committee, et cetera, and, give it some thoughts. And as you know, I think I spoke about at the last meeting, the policy committee is, continuing some of the pre-COVID work of the previous boards to align our policies, both with those of our BOA districts and with the CABE models. And when we looked at this policy, we wanted to put forward a policy that was more inclusive of our whole district. As you know, we're going to be undertaking a CABE policy services audit. So we're a little past the 10-year mark for a comprehensive audit. But while we're doing that, we're looking at the policy committee is looking at our 9,000 series, which is our board policies. So we want to align those with current practices and updated state statutes. And we were currently working on our policies on standing committees. So policy 1110 fits into our current work because it outlines one of the many ways that our board promotes parent engagement, which is through participation as a non-voting member of a standing committee. I have not done a comprehensive search of the country, but in our immediate area, even extending into, some of the counties in New York, we are one of the only schools that has a PTO update as a standing agenda item. Giving a chance for the PTO to fully engage with us and us to hear about what's going on with the school. And that's one of the ways that we have supported parent participation and engagement. And of course, the other way is we are also one of the only districts that invites parent participation as non-voting members of the standing committee. In establishing effective relationships with parent participating groups in our district, we recognize that there are several groups that should feel equally representative of the district. And any parent or guardian member of our district should be eligible for participation on board committees, regardless of their level of engagement with any particular parent group. We also recognize that the role of communication of what happens here at the Board of Education with the town, with the community, and with the district about Board of Ed issues or votes or discussions should be the responsibility of the Board of Education. That we should be responsible for our own communication and not rely on another group to disseminate that information. So we amended policy 1110 to be more inclusive of the whole Woodbridge School District community and to be clear about our communication with the district. The policy was revised to reflect state and national Board of Education policies on parent engagement, and it's reflective of our current committee practices and engagement these past few years. So with that introduction, I'm going to make the motion that we move to adopt policy 1110, communication among the Board of Education, the administration, the parents, and the staff at Beecher Road School as revised.
Do I have a second? Eden? Okay. Any discussion? Board members?
You're really just taking out PTO component, right? They're the conduit between. That's
Because
what
we
I'm
should be
saying.
responsible for our own
Right.
communication, and the information that we put out to the community. And there's also other representative, parent groups, on campus now as well.
Anything else? Mike or Aaron? Anything? No? Okay, we have a motion by Maria, seconded by Steve. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. I'm going to note that both Aaron and Mike remotely have raised their hands. The vote is unanimous. Marcia, thank you very much. Brooke has had to leave the meeting.
Oh,
Okay.
And then I have a little policy update for you. I did attend the CABE Policy Chair Update webinar this past week. They talked about some policies relating to the legislation that was passed in the 2023 legislative session. And they also talked about some of the policy that may be up and coming. So there is a lot because they passed an awful lot of legislation in 2023. So it is a very great time to have a comprehensive CABE review because they can really help guide us with a lot of that. The air quality deadline is going to be extended till January of 2025, but we are on top of that already. And the review, you have to have your HVAC quality assessment scheduled by that deadline. There are grant opportunities for HVAC updates and repairs that were added to the budget. And those updates and repairs go retroactive to 2020. I think it's a specific date, maybe March of 2020. So any repairs that were done to the HVAC system could also be applied to a grant. So maybe we'll see what happens with this assessment and perhaps put that all in a grant. So that's up and coming. There was new money allocated for construction grants for boards of education, for school districts. So policy 7230.2, construction and HVAC, will need to be revised in response to Public Act 23-167. The Professional Development and Evaluation Committee, school climate policy revisions. CABE does now have an AI model policy, which their focus is on the constructive and proper use of it as opposed to eliminating the use of it. CABE is also working on a Title IX toolkit, and that actually came out of the Title IX revisions that were done in 2022. There are some challenges for implementing those policies in a K-6 district because the law leaves no room for consideration of intent. So you have little kids running around, may not be aware of what they're saying. There's some challenges to that, and CABE is putting together a toolkit for us so we can address those properly. A restorative practices mandate is also, they're looking at policies regarding that as well. So the next meeting of the policy committee will be the first week of October. Great.
Hear anything about transportation and electrification? So there was a huge grant given to the state recently.
They didn't talk about it as it related to policy,
They didn't.
but yes, I did hear about that as well.
Okay, so
In
we
the
might
legislation.
want to.
Along the information to the owner operators of our buses that they can apply themselves.
Oh, they can apply themselves. Oh, okay. Because there was a great initiative. I saw it on my desk and it's a substantial amount for electrification. And that could reduce costs on both sides for the operator and for us.
Yeah. Luckily with our system, we are ahead of the game, but get our money back, that'd be awesome.
If we have, just the fact that we're gonna have this done, there's gonna be so many people in line, so many people punted, think and give it, because they're gonna have another year. Very happy.
So how many years do we get the certification for? Will we be able to work that? We get it for 5 years. So will it be again one of the first to renew?
Right.
So we won't be in that big.
It's not,
I think that's what Maria was trying to say.
I mean, I think my question was even, would they stagger it in relation to how well you did? So, a better, a more updated system, better grading on the evaluation should be able to buy you a better amount of time for the staggering, but they did not write that into the legislation as of yet.
I was also thinking they use the scheduling as the key. If I schedule for 2026, I'm still meeting the criteria, right? So that's the way I was thinking about this, that they're gonna roll it over that way.
okay.
But as long as you schedule out a year or two.
Right.
I think the law was written very, very interesting.
But I will say, that our students were in school every day at the beginning of the school year when so many districts were, even our neighboring districts, Orange and were closing because of the heat issue. And our kids were motoring along, starting school off in the right way. That was fabulous for Manchester.
It was fabulous for us. When my kids would come home and tell me, my buddies are off.
Right. Say it's not an accident. We'll say that. Cape liaison report. That's you too, Maria.
All right. So another plug for the CAPS Leading from Y Conference, November 17th and 18th. If you are still planning to attend, please send that information to Marcia. The delegate assembly will be Thursday evening, 11:16. Yes.
Delegate assembly, right?
Yes.
Usually Sarah Beth attends that.
And so, and also, if you are planning to stay overnight in Mystic, the reduced hotel rate is available until October 22nd. So please book by then if you're planning to stay and would like that reduced rate. The delegate assembly as well, this kind of feeds into the next item. Boards of education can present at the delegate assembly, and that was one of the parameters in the board recognition award. Have we ever written anything to go to the delegate assembly? So it might be something to think about for future conferences, for future boards, if there's something that we think should be in there. Webinars, the CAVE has opened up their webinars again. Please check the CAVE library. There's many free ones. The next one that's available is Managing Difficult Conversations. It's going to be October 17th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. It's free. And also, again, a quick note, if you register for the conference, even if you cannot go at that specific time, they send the recording and any of the slide decks to everyone who has registered. And you can always listen again, in any free time on your commute, what have you, as long as you've registered. Board Recognition Award from CAVE, your leadership team has been working on that application. And we did note a couple of things on that application that perhaps boards have done it that we can maybe do in the future. So we're going to keep you updated on that. And one of those things is the Board Member Academy for CAVE. You do get continuing education CAVE credits for webinars and any board professional development that you do through CAVE. And some of you may have gotten a little CEU letter from CAVE at the end of July this year, saying how many credits you may have earned over the past couple of years. There are two tiers of board membership with CAVE. One is a certified board member, and you need to get 20 CEUs spread over a couple of different topic areas. And then if you would so choose to become a master board member, that's an additional 20 continuing education credits. So keep up the good work, and all of this continuing education continues to help us. It helps us earn Board of Education recognition, but it also helps us work together as an effective team. So they put out some very, interesting conversations and good things to be a part. Just a note on or around September 12th, we got an email from CAVE with the Connecticut State Department of Education draft of their 5-year plan and goals. You can read the draft linked in the email, and there is also a link in that email for you to write in comments and suggestions regarding the draft plan. And so I think this is a great opportunity to participate in the statewide goal planning of the State Department of Education. So if I can resend that email out in case it has gotten lost in the ether, but I think that's a great way for us to engage at the state level with some goal planning.
Thanks, Maria. Our upcoming meeting presentation will be on October's Board of Education meeting will be a presentation on the Smarter Balanced Assessment Report. So I'm going to ask board members to reach out to Vonda if there's anything specific that you would like to see addressed in that particular presentation, so that she can be prepared for that for our regular October meeting on October 16th. So if you're looking for specific information, just shoot her up an email or call and let her know what you'd like to see in that presentation. Is there any new business? Think so? I'll make my monthly community service announcement for those watching. The policy committee will meet on Monday, October 2nd at 4:30. The curriculum committee will meet on Thursday, October 5th at 4:30. And the finance committee will meet on Tuesday. No, that's wrong. It's October 10th. Is that the right date? think I have the wrong date, I'm sorry.
I think it's the 10th.
10, October 10th. Thank you. And so, chairs of those committees, Vonda will be reaching out to you about the agenda for those meetings. And those meetings are held in the superintendent's suite in the South School. The next regular meeting of the Board of Education will be on Monday, October 16th at 7:00 PM in the South Assembly. Public comment. If there are any participants watching remotely or attending remotely, if you would raise your hand. Public comment, I don't see any. So now there is no executive session this evening, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Jay Dyer, second. Mr. Hughes. Motion made to adjourn at 9:02 PM, made by Jay Dyer, seconded by Jeff Hughes. All those in favor, please raise your hand. And I see the remote people also raising their hand. It's unanimous, Marcia. Thank you very much. Marcia, thank you again for hosting us this evening. And I hope everyone has a pleasant evening.
Have a good one, Lynn. Thank you.
Thank you.